I will be recording this section from Yola because later on the Yeen his portion is a bit quite hands-on, so you can click it for reference in case for some of the specific step or something you want to be. First of all, thank you for joining this specific section. We were focusing on the service virtualizations. Use the Parasoft Virtualize for create, deploy, and manage virtual test environment. Of course, this topic is to be very specific audience in mind. What we will be expected for the flow for these 2 hours, the opening that me will be provide very quick because I need to be formally introduce the instructor for yours. The main topic is the technical workshop and the lab. Based on what yesterday I have sent an email for you all, I want you to pre-install something into your machine so that later on you can directly just follow the Yeen. There are some changes. Yeen will have his colleague Ken. He will be co-host instructor event at the quite to the end of it, like the 4:45 or 50. Then we will be moving to the Q&A in case there's something, because we are running out of time. Then we do the closing. Please stay with us all the time until the lucky door before you left. So I think this is what the flow is go like. So actually, I have a pre-recorded a video so that I will be talk about Yeen from there. So now here I just quickly preview on the slide. I will be attaching to your over, but because this now Steve from Parasoft they don't prepare some additional slide so that I won't put it into the e-learning system. But if later on the Yeen have anything want to share with you, so I will compile and share. Yeen is instructor, so later on after the event, the join certificate, one of the person to sign will be it. Then I will compile and send back for you all. Let me quickly have a short video so that we can kickstart the event for everyone.
First of all, thank you to join us for this special event that we are organizing together with Parasoft. Today the event is actually the instructor is Yeen. So Yeen been with the Parasoft for quite a long time. So what you will be expected to learn from today will be service virtualization with a specific tool, because the tool is easier to be hands-on, to guide you to do something instead of like usually one way. It means that they just present. We arrange this in the 2-way manner because you are expected to do the hands-on, so you are really acquire the skill at end of the section. Joint certificate will be issued to you after the event. Then of course we stay tuned into the end of the event when you will see me again as to be doing for the lucky draw together with you. Once again, I would like to welcome and passing this section now to Yeen to continue the whole section. Once again, thank you for the participation.
We kickstart. So Yeen, your side is ready. I will passing over.
Yeah, okay, I will share my screen. Can anyone see my slides right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll shut now. So hi everyone. My name is Yeen. So I'm a technical manager for Parasoft Southeast Asia. So today with me is Yeen, or you can call him Ken. He is our technical consultant residing in Malaysia. So I look after the entire ask. So today we'll be sharing with you on service virtualization. And as what Vincent has shown just now, so this is the graphic agenda that today. So I'm going to give you some brief introduction on our company. Then the main content will be on the hands-on sessions with our virtualized community edition. Then we will have some short breaks, and then so that people can catch up and then able to ask any question if they are facing during the hands-on sessions before we wrap up with Q&A. Okay, let me start. So just a brief introduction for Parasoft. So we have been in the industry for over 30 years. We are no debt and VC. We are a private company, and we hold 32 patents internationally, and we have more than 10,000 customers in banking, finance, military, and government. So our company is a software tools provider. So we help anyone who produce or involved in the system development to make sure that their system is safe, quality, and maintainable. So this is an old topic that I always like to bring up in my sharing. So you see, this is a book that probably in the 1996, but the fact that it represents still holds true up until now in year 2021. That is, the earlier you find problems in your development life cycle, the cheaper it is to fix it. Right. So typically a system goes through from the coding, unit test, functional test, field test, and post-release maintenance life cycles. So in the early stage where this is the development, then it's all about the source code and how the system is being engineered. Right after it's been delivered, or before it's been delivered, it's called black box testing, where typically people are trying to find potential flaws in the system. And a code or an error that is found in the early stage can be cost at, let's say, $25 to fix, and it's going up to $1,000 during the field testing, and way more. Just imagine that for, let's say, car manufacturing. So when the design is in the blueprint level, it's very easy to fix it. At most, you just pay for the OT for the engineer. But you already manufactured the car and then you sell it to the consumer market and you have to recall it. That's where the cost will be skyrocketed. So we have a wide range of offerings covering both white box and black box testing area. So however, today we are going to focus on the black box testing area, which is the Parasoft Virtualize. It's one of our solutions. So we have a few mottos here. So the first thing is shift left, test earlier, like I mentioned. Test earlier, it will be cheaper if anything goes wrong. And when we talk about the area that we're going to focus today, service virtualization, we're going to say keep right, test automatically. Right. So traditionally, the system must go through testing to ensure that its behavior is following what is agreed between the stakeholders. So we have functional testing, load testing, pen testing, or any regression testing. So ideally, if you have a situation like an end-to-end scenario where you have a system that you access it via a web browser, so internally it handles some financial transactions, it interacts with your CRM applications, and also interacts with external business partner servers. So to automate the testing of such systems, you will require some tools to stimulate your end user, which usually access it from the web browser. Then, we also can substitute the various interactions, for example, the SMS notifications, and we also can abstract out the external dependencies via our Virtualize. So today, you will learn how you can actually implement this type of automations. Of course, we are limited to the Virtualize only. The SOA test probably will be in the separate sessions. Okay, so black box testing from Parasoft has some few advantages. The first and the most important one is we have a uniform interfaces or workflow. Regardless you are doing a functional testing, API testing, web testing, we have the same workflow. This will allow very, very smooth learning curve for our end users, especially if most of the testers now in this region are non-technical, means that they are non-developers. So all in all, we have 3 products that covering the whole area of functional test, which is SOA test, load test, and Virtualize. And all of them has a comprehensive support over a wide range of protocols. So you will not find these protocols supported in most of the open source or free tools that you have here. For example, ISO 8583, usually for the financial institution, ATM protocols, MQ, TIBCO, EJB, etc. These are the common middleware used in banking systems. So in our functional testing, one of the key features that we provide is a record and playback. So this allows the non-technical users to quickly develop and deploy their test cases. So you can have a system that interacts with many modules. A QA tester will be able to record it. And then the same recording can be scaled up and used in the load of performance testing. So compared to, I'm not sure if anyone here is using any tools, but chances are people may be using a wide range of open source free tools. But they are not aware of the hidden price that they are paying for, that is the manpower and maintenance. Right? You may have a very good employee, engineers right here now to help you to maintain the wire to bridge between several tools. But if that particular subject matter expert is no longer with the company, then there will be a risk that this asset is no longer usable or maintainable. So using Parasoft functional trio, we have an advantage of non-scripting and reusable. The same model that is constructed is universal among the three products. Okay, let me go on to the main focus. So everyone here knows that software testing needs to be done. So same with any other thing. For example, today, if the company is producing water tap, a faucet, how do we test it? Right, it's very simple, right? It's just open and close. But no, it's not. Ideally, you want to see that if the items is working properly, then you will need to see if there is any leakage. That means that you need to provide a system of pipes, a piping, and a water flow before you can start the testing. Otherwise, you are just meaningless. You are just testing if the knobs can be spin. Is there any smooth movement or not? But that is not enough, because your end user, what they expect from the water tap is when you open it, the water comes out. When you close it, there's no leakage, there's no water coming out. And when you set up a system of these pipings and plumbing that is not critical directly to your product, you probably don't pay a lot of resources into it. And when something goes wrong, then you will be busy firefighting. Oh, I need to salvage what is a demo databases that my tester uses, etc. So this is an analogy to what I'm saying here. If something goes wrong with the piping, you'll be busy cleaning up the mess. Water gets splashes everywhere, then you forgot about testing your actual product. Then here comes another question. How do you test the hot water if you don't have a heater? Right. So the analogy is here. If you want to test a water tap here, and let's say that the question I asked earlier, we want to test it with hot water, then do you need a water tank, a water heater? Right. Maybe you have multiple taps. You want to test if the same system, the same network of systems can function correctly. But in this case, do you really want to build a full house? No, actually you don't need. With service virtualizations, you can localize and then to minimize your scope of testing. This makes testing more feasible. This is to address the common challenges in complex applications where, for example, you have a system, but it's dependent on external systems. They can be not reachable because they probably won't notify you for their scheduled maintenance, or they suddenly have something wrong, or internet connectivity goes down, and scheduled setting time. Let's say we used to work with banks. We know that there's very, very small windows for them to conduct any testing. Right? They have to apply and arrange in advance, and that is very, very counterproductive because the developer may be fixing something and then they want to quickly verify it, but they have to wait until the weekend midnight before they go their time slot. Then you also have the chances that the system is under development. Right? This is commonly in the old software development methodology where they are using waterfall method. They develop, then they test before they ship. The problem is, we all know that software projects always delay. The development always overshoots. And then the deadline doesn't get moved, and then they will compressing the testing time. Therefore, insufficient tests will be done, and therefore compromising the quality. So with Virtualize, we are able to do a smart stubbing or mocking. So it's no longer setting mocking, and then where you have a flexibility in determining the data used in the response, and also you can also alter the timing behavior to give you a more realistic feel of the actual system. And you also can actually manage the environment. For example, you have set up different profiles. Let's say that you want to simulate a distributed server. You want to simulate that when half the capacity is allocated or the full capacity is being allocated. Okay. So what makes the test environment good? So I summarize it into a simple ABCD factors: accessibility, behavior, cost, and data. Right. So whenever you look for any environment tools to help in your testing, just remember the ABCD. Right. Environment tools should be always accessible, and the behavior can be configurable, cost should be low, of course, and the data needs to be fulfilling. You cannot test your system with a static demo dummy data all the time. So Service Virtualize can be used across different departments of the organization. For development, they can use for sandboxing. QA can be used for testing the system stabilities, while the operations can even use it for training, like running out sandboxes, like Docker, or for custom integrations. Right. You'll have a partners that you will say that, hey, let me see what can I build something on top of your system. And obviously, they're not going to buy a full version of it. They just want to know that what type of API is available and what kind of behavior is going to activate. With Virtualize, this can be easily achievable. So before we go into the next topic, so Parasoft Virtualize comes in many editions. So the editions that we're going to show you today will be the community editions that you can always register and download for free from our website. So it has some limitations. For example, it's limited to 11,000 hits per day. It means that you can only get a request and response pair of 11,000 per calendar day. And you would need an active internet connection to activate it. The protocol supported will be limited to HTTP and HTTPS only. So if you are interested in any of these advanced protocols, then likely you will need to arrange for a POC and purchase for a full licenses. So there are also other perks for full paying customers. For example, availability over the cloud, Azure, Amazon, and Google. I think we move off from Google. Only Azure and Amazon so far. Okay, so without further ado, let me transfer to my colleague, Ken, to help facilitate the physical hands-on workshop. I believe that all of you have already have the Virtualized Community Edition installed. Vincent, can I pass it to you? And because I wasn't able to see the attendee name.
Over to the WC Jeen already. Yeah, I think it's Ken. Yeah, Ken, you can share your screen. I transferred to you already.
Okay. So I will share my screen, right?
Yes.
So everyone can see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you for Yeen. So hi everyone, my name is Vincent. So I will be cover about the hands-on about the Service Virtualize. So these are the topics that I'm going to cover. So how to register yourself and get the installation done, as well as how to set up the ParaBank and the functional scenario that I will going to present later. So this is the Parasoft Virtualize Community Edition. So this is a free edition to create, deploy, manage the virtual test environment. And yeah, Yeen mentioned this just now. So we will skip this one. And how you're going to register, you can go to this link and fill up the details. And then you will be receiving 2 emails. One is the welcome email and another will be the download link. You will be waiting for about 15 to 20 minutes for the download link. If for any inquiry, you can also contact to the CE support, parasoft.com. And as well as you also can access to the community edition FAQ forum, as well as the video tutorial for more information about how to actually access to the Service Virtualize. So this is the sample Parasoft email. And you will get the download link, another email, which is in Windows or even Mac or in Linux. So these are the installation. Then you will get this done. Then after that, you will actually require to go to Preference and then set your email under the community license with your registered email. After that, you can actually click the Apply and Close. Then everything is just set and you are ready to go. So in this topic, setting up ParaBank. So before I keep start about ParaBank, let me show you what is ParaBank. So I have an example over here. Let me see. Sorry. So hi, this is the ParaBank. So this is the usual demo web application that we are going to talk about. Then this is how they actually perform the testing and how the development can be done and how Parasoft Virtualize can help them. And basically you can do a login here by typing the username and password. This is like a virtual ParaBank bank system, online bank system, that you can actually access to the account details, or even you can actually transfer some funds. So in Virtualize, Service Virtualize, this is the application. You can actually set up this ParaBank very easily. You can always go to the file, click New, and open up the project. A wizard will be popped up. And in this wizard, if you want to create a ParaBank example project, you can always go to Virtualize, select the ParaBank example project, click Next, and hit Finish, and the ParaBank will be set. So this is to help you to understand how to actually using this ParaBank to understand how you can actually integrate the Virtualize into it to perform the testing. So, for example, the ParaBank has been created here, and to make sure that the server has been started and running behind, you can always check on the server view. If you don't find the server view here, you can always go to the window, go to a show view and other. In this wizard, you can always go to the server, expand your server and click on the server, opens up, then this server view will be comes up. Then this is how we usually turn on the ParaBank example project. Then back to here, you see this is a local host and has been running behind, and you'll be able to do some access. So let me back to the here. So in this setting up ParaBank, just like what I say, go to File New, and you can actually create the ParaBank very easily. And along with it, I have provided some screenshots here, which make you to understand step by step, hands-on, how to actually create the ParaBank. And I also mentioned about the server, how you can actually start your server to make sure that you can run the ParaBank in localhost. So since we have already done the setting up ParaBank, now we would like to do some sample functional scenario, which is by creating a new virtual asset. So this is the step to create a new virtual asset. I will actually skip this. I will actually straight to here and create. So what you can do is always go to Virtual Asset Explorer. Make sure that you are here.
Sorry, hi, Wong here. Is
Hi,
the
Wong.
Community Edition installer bundle with the ParaBank?
Yes.
Yes.
It's bundled
Okay.
with the ParaBank.
Is in which folder? Sorry.
Okay.
When you turn on the Service Virtualized applications,
Mm-hmm.
you can always go to File,
Okay.
under New, then in Project.
Because your screens are quite small. Can't
It's
see.
very small. Okay. How
The
about this? I already
I think it's
maximized.
the resolution.
Maximize the screen, I think.
Yeah, because I put full screen already. It's still very small, the icon and the wording.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try to do something here.
So it's file open project, right?
Yeah, it actually goes to the application, File, and under New, go to Project.
New project.
Yes.
New project. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, no worries. I actually did stated in the slide. So everything will be actually covered in the slide. So for example, you can see my slide here, right?
Yeah.
So you can see open
Yeah,
up.
this one I can see.
Yeah. So now you can actually go to File, New Project. So a new project wizard will be displayed. So what you can do is, the next thing is expand the SWA test or virtualized directory. Then you can actually select the ParaBank example project.
Okay.
Yeah, this is how to actually how you can setting up the ParaBank project here.
Okay.
And also
how long we can use this community edition?
This community edition is actually free to use.
Okay, but it's limited function, right?
Yes.
Because
some
I can see this feature not licensed on the left and the right hand tab.
Basically what I did today is based on the community edition. So we try to showcase as much as possible the features that is included in the community edition.
Okay, can.
Okay. Yeah. So along with the words, I also provide the screenshot which you can see in the slide. Maybe you can get it later to actually reference you when you step by step doing it.
Okay, can.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So the next thing is I will be going to create a sample functional scenario, which is creating the new virtual asset. So how we usually create the new virtual asset is you can always go to the virtual asset explorer, then right click on the virtual asset, then add new and select a virtual asset, which we call PVA file. So now let me return back to the Service Virtualized applications. So now in the virtual asset here, we will right click, add new virtual asset file. A new wizard will be actually popped up here, which is selecting which type of file that you want to create. In this case, we will actually go to virtual asset. Then you will actually need a name for this file. Maybe we will try a training virtual asset. So then now we click next. And then in this part, we will actually try to create an empty one because it's a sample or a simple one. So we will actually create in an empty type and hit finish. So if you do, you can always find your created file by expand your virtual asset. Then you will able to actually see your training virtual asset here. You can double click to turn it off or double click to open it back. So now you expand your responder switch here. You will see it will be empty because we created in empty type. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to create a responder. So how we're going to create a responder? By right-click the responder suite, add new responder. Then, okay, let me maximize this one. So in this screen, in this wizard, you can also see that we are actually providing quite a few responders in different formats, like for example JSON, Pitera, plain, or even REST. So in this case, maybe we can actually select plain XML message responder. Yeah, you just select this one and hit finish. And you will be noticed that a new file is created. So under response, you can always swap your input mode into other mode. For example, even if you select plain XML, you can also select literal here. Doesn't matter the initial that you're selecting. You can also always switch it back to the one that you want here. So for example, now we are back to XML. So now maybe you can actually try something here, like for example, testing placeholder. So let me save it. Then you can, if you're not sure what is it showing here in your form XML, you can always switch to literal. Then you will actually seeing a placeholder tag with a testing content in it. So this is our sample message responder. Then how we're going to test it, whether it include the existing content in this responder. So we can always go to the virtualized server on our right hand side. Then under you can make sure that you have started your server. Then you expand your server and also local machine. In your virtual access, you can also expand it. Then you will find that a training virtual access has been deployed to this virtual access file. Double click to open it. Then you will find that it will be a HTTP endpoint over here. Just copy this endpoint. Control C to copy. Then go to Safari. Maybe you can try just paste and go. Then you will see this is how we usually test your responder. So that you can always, this is the simple responder that we use to showcase to you that you can actually use the virtualize to actually do this one. Because, okay, let me return back to the slides here. Okay. So here, the sample functional scenario, which is guiding you step by step how to actually use by creating the new virtual access, you can always create and test run your responder in this way. Wong, you can see, right? And other.
Yeah, this one I can see. Your PowerPoint I can see. Only your, the application, the ParaBank or the settings screen, basically is very tiny from my, maybe the resolution.
Okay.
Maybe you are using.
Yeah, I think I think it's
big monitor, is it?
I think you may need to changing your resolution.
Yeah, because my one is a laptop screen only, 14-inch, very small.
Okay.
So yeah.
No worries. Let me check how to change my resolution here. Okay. Display. Sorry for interrupting, but I will need to fix this one first. Otherwise, everyone can. Oh, okay. Let me try to skew it. How about this one? Now,
can go back to the screen, the Parasoft screen.
Actually, in the Service Virtualize application, can you see
Okay.
this one?
Still same, but
Maybe you unshare then reshare again and see, because
Okay, maybe I stop screen sharing, then I share again. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. Now better.
Now better, right? Now
Yeah.
it's like Zoom
Thanks.
already, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Sure. No
Thanks.
worries. So let's move on. So okay. Okay. So my slide, okay, right? Okay. Until this point.
Slide also okay.
Okay. Is there any question about like creating the virtual access?
Just now I just loaded the new project, so it is showing the new ParaBank web page. Maybe later I refer to your step, then I create the virtual asset.
Can. So the virtual asset, the step to creating the basic virtual asset is also here.
Yep.
So you can actually follow this one, and there will be a screenshot as well, which you can actually follow step by step to how you can actually create a basic virtual asset, and actually how you can actually create a responder to test. So in creating the new virtual asset, this is how it goes. Then besides that, we also create a responder. This is how we usually create a responder. You can right click the responder suite, then you add new, select responder. Based on which responder you are referring to, then you select that one. Maybe you want a JSON or even the plain XML. It's up to you. Afterward, you can actually change the value in it. Like for example, in here.
What is the difference between virtual asset and responder?
Oh, okay. Virtual asset is so-called a file to store the responder, which is if you want to test your so-called for example, this is what we call responder. So the content. Can you follow?
How do we relate to just now the ParaBank that web page?
Oh, okay.
You're using that one as an example, right?
Yeah. ParaBank is one of the examples that we will actually discuss it later. I just mentioned it earlier because I just want to explain to you that ParaBank is the example that we use to showcase demonstration. Okay. And in this basic virtual asset, I will use the simple responder to explain to you about the virtual asset. So there's no relation between this basic virtual asset and the ParaBank.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how we usually create the virtual asset, but it's non-related to the ParaBank.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but then later on we will actually create with ParaBank. So no worries. Okay. So the responder, you need to actually understand the responder, how it actually works based on the value that I set here. Because later on I will be using ParaBank to use as example.
Okay.
So moving forward, we have how to test the responder. Just now I did show about the responder that by placing the HTTP endpoint in my web browser, and then the same content will be displayed in my browser. Just like what I see from the responder here. As you can see, the content will be the same in my Safari here. Okay, so this is how we test the responder and step by step to the guide. So okay, so moving forward, I have more Loon processor services in ParaBank, which I use to actually showcase how to actually virtualize the Loon processor services. So let me back to the ParaBank. Okay, this is the ParaBank. Okay, you see the ParaBank, it has the administration here, has the data access mode, and also the web services. So this is the loan processor services, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy the wizard link in this file. So this is the wizard link. Then you open it up. It has the XML, the data. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the loan processor services, which is used to virtualize for this loan processor. Because in ParaBank, as you notice, if we log in, right, we do have features which is called request loan. So how does this request loan process? It's actually based on the wizard link that I copied just now. It's based on how the services behind. So now after I copy the URL, what I can do is, let me back to here. Okay, so I'm going to create a new message proxy. So a message proxy is actually it's so-called to store the traffic so that you can actually use the traffic log file to create the virtual access. So back to the swap test application. Let me turn off this. Okay, so I'm no longer looking at all this. So now in Virtualize Server, you can always create your message proxy under the Virtualize Server view. Then how I'm going to create? I just right click the message proxy and add message proxy. Then a new message proxy file will be created under the message proxy, which is named by proxy by default. Just open this one. Then maybe I would like to give a new name for this proxy, double loan proxy. Then save it. So after I have this proxy, I will actually need the connection for incoming connection and the outgoing connection. So what I'm going to do is, under the connection tab, I'm going to add new connection. So for the proxy type, there will be quite a few, like for example, JMS, MQ, or even internal. But in this case, we are going to use HTTP. So in this page, in this configuration for the proxy, I'm going to place the URL that I copied just now from the ParaBank website to the service URL. As you notice that it will actually automatically fill up for the other parameter, for example, host port and even the service for path. So this will actually automatically allocate the parameter. Then we will need a proxy listen path. So how I'm going to get the proxy listen path? I'm going to actually copy the service for path here and place it over here. Then we will have our proxy URL. This is what we're going to actually virtualize. Then maybe I can copy this URL, proxy URL, copy. Then for the secondary connection, you can just leave it because this is as a backup connection is primary field. But in this case, we will not need it. And also, for the traffic file, it will be actually used to store the traffic, which is the request and response traffic, into this traffic file. And it will be stored by default in this location. So we will just leave it in default and then hit OK.
The recording file is by default is enabled, right?
Yes, I'm going to talk about how we're going to enable the recording file later.
Okay.
So now once you have been set for the proxy file, you can save your loan proxy. And then now what you're going to do is you're going to enable your proxy that I just configured just now. I right click the loan proxy that I just configured. You will need to enable it before you're using it. After you enable your proxy file, you will actually need to start monitoring and start recording. But this is actually not enough. You will actually require to store in the file, in the traffic file. So we will have a so-called Parasoft event details over here. In case you don't find in your Parasoft tool, you can always go to this open perspective icon over here. You click it, then you can always find the tool over here. So in this case, we're going to use the Parasoft event details to log the traffic. So I'm going to open this one. So this is the event log that's going to log the traffic file. So I'm going to start a new log. So you will see now will be empty, right? So I'm going to hit back to ParaBank. Okay, so this is the ParaBank, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the proxy URL. Just now I just copy the proxy URL and place it over here. So now I have my proxy URL listening to my loan processor services. So now I can actually hit submit and make sure that your setting has been set successfully. And now what you do is you're going to make some loan requests. So now I'm going to request some loan so that the loan traffic will be actually recorded in my traffic file. So for example, now I would like to make some loan amount, for example, 1,000 with a down payment of 10%, maybe 100. Okay, so apply. So you will notice that, okay, with 10% down payment, 1,000 will be actually approved. So maybe we try some other value. For example, we try a bigger value. For example, 1 with a 12 0. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 12, right? Okay. With a down payment of 100, let's stick to 100. And this will actually fail because with a bigger value, with a lesser down payment, it will not approve. So you can notice the error message is shown. So we will actually need to make more loan requests, let's say 2,000, to make more traffic so that you can actually see the difference. For example, 100 down payment, and yeah, the loan has been approved. So now we have done with ParaBank. Now we hit back to our event log file. As you can see, right, all the log has been actually logged in this log file by sending the request. Okay, you see there's each pair of requests and the proxy request and the proxy response received and the response sent. Each of them have 4 pair of this one. In this case, we have 12 traffic has been logged in this file. So now we can actually go back to Parasoft Virtualize to stop our recording. So we already have our traffic file now, so that we can actually use the traffic file to create our virtual access. So let me back to slide here first before I'm moving on. So this is how we actually create the message proxy step by step. And you also need to actually configure the message proxy, and you need to enable the message proxy. How you actually can enable the message proxy, and then you will need to record the traffic by open the go to Parasoft event details and hit the button start new log, and then you will need to actually navigate to ParaBank and place the proxy URL into the loan processor services, so that the proxy existing, it will actually record all the request and response traffic into the traffic file. And then I'm performing some loan services, like for example, 1,000 with down payment 100, and so on. You can try this in your machine to see whether you get the same result as mine. And then back to just now, we have reviewed the traffic log file. And now we can actually start creating our virtual asset with traffic log file. But before you start creating the virtual asset, you will actually need a data repository. This is because in your traffic file, because just now we try with 3 different kind of type of input. So those input we categorize them as a request, and the output will be the response. So we will need a data repository to store the request and response. So now back to the Service Virtualize application, we can actually go to data repository. If you don't see this, you can always go to Window, Show View, then you will have data repository here. And once you have this one, it's always embedded server. Just right click and create a repository. Maybe I give a record for loan report. Hit OK, and you'll be set here. So now I'm going to create a virtual asset with the traffic file. So the same way, I'm going to right click, virtual asset, add new virtual asset file. Let's say we give a loan virtual asset, simple name. So next, hit next. So because just now we created an empty type for simple responder. In this case, we will not using empty anymore. In this case, we will actually go to traffic, then generate parameterized message over here, and hit next. And how you're going to actually locate your traffic file? Because the traffic file is always following your repository that you created for this Service Virtualize, then you will always go to, let's say, a mobile workplace, then you can always find your recorded traffic over here. Then if it is by default set by time and date and time, so in this case, this will be my latest. Okay, this will be my latest. So I'm going to select this one and hit OK. So afterwards, I will just leave everything remain by default and hit next. So now come to the Parasoft data repository setting. Because just now we had already created a loan report. So now here we're going to select embedded server. And for the repository, we're going to select loan report. So there's no username and password, so it's not necessary to insert them. And we just need hit next. Takes a while to actually load. And comes to the message format and grouping strategy. And this is actually depending on what type of message format you are actually looking for and the response format. In this way, in this case, we will not changing anything here. We'll leave it by default and hit next. Okay. Why is it? Okay. maybe I uncheck this one. So now you can see, so this is the responder name, the data set, and also the request body. So I just uncheck the auto config because I don't want to auto configure for me. So I just uncheck it and hit next. And when it comes to this request matching, for the request body, I did not actually utilize for the available fund. So now I'm going to remove this parameter. For just now, what value did we use is the loan amount and as well as the deposit amount. So now, I'm going to add a new value, a parameter, which is the down payment. So with these two parameters, it's enough for me to actually have it in my request body. After that, I will just need to hit next. For the data reuse, just remain by default and all good here. As well as for the final option, we're not changing anything over here. And come to the deploy virtual access. So this is our endpoint, but in order to not messing with the previous proxy URL, so what can I do is I add a virtual in my path so that you will not confuse between the proxy URL and this endpoint. So I just add a virtual in the most left hand side here so that you can actually differentiate between the proxy and this one. And then maybe I copy this endpoint and then I hit finish. So this is how you can actually create your virtual access with the traffic file. Just open this, you will see that your loan virtual access has been created here. So open this. You can see all the response has been parameterized for me so that I don't need to worry for it. And as well as for the data source that we use, which is the data repository, just open this up. And in case you don't find the value, you can always open in table editor. Then you can actually have a look at the value that I insert just now, which is, for example, the last value, 2,000 with a down payment of 300, and a bigger value with 100 down payment, and 1,000 with 100 down payment. And if you want to take a look at the response, you can also click on the response. You will have all the sufficient value in it so that you can actually take a look. So now what we can do here is, let me hit back to ParaBank so that I can show you the what's like. So because just now we have been set the service endpoint is point to our proxy URL. So now I'm going to change it. I'm going to remove it and actually place it to the latest one, which is to my virtual access, so that if you're actually listening to my virtual access, so I will hit submit. Make sure it's safe. Then I go to make some loan request. So for example, now I'm making the same value, for example 1,000 with a down payment of 100. It should working. See, it should work. But how if we try some other value, for example 1,001 with a down payment 100. See, this is not configured in our data repository because he do not cache the value, the loan amount 1,001 in this data repository. This is the reason that's why some internet error has been occurred over here. If you want to try something else, of course you can. If you want to try, for example, changing the value, for example, I would like to change the loan provider name. Instead of using parameterized value, I'm using a constant value. So maybe I would like to use provider. So for example, I change to constant value, then I save it. So now back to ParaBank. Let's make the same value, for example 1,000 with a down payment of 100. Can you see that's been updated into eSpin loan provider? So this is how you can actually play around with the so-called parameterized value or even the fixed constant value. So this is how we can actually adjust it. If you want to test all the value that you receive, you can actually define a condition in your data repository. So in this case, for example, if I want to test a data repository by finding with a condition, we can always create like this way, which is remove the value, always create in a square bracket. This is how we actually state the condition. So for example, if you want a value of loan amount is approved, maybe you can set a loan amount less than 959 with a down payment which is greater than 100. Then the response should approve. If you want to fill some response, so for example, for any value that is greater than 100,000 with down payment of less than 99 or 100, then it will actually deny the application. Besides these two conditions, we do have accept all conditions, which is using a square bracket with a star. So this square bracket with a star condition stated that if in case they don't meet one of these conditions, it will always go to the third one, which is depending on whether you want to approve the application or you want to fill the application. So now, let's say, for example, I want to fill the application with a message insufficient fund. So I can always copy, save it here, and now we can go back to our ParaBank to test run
The message format is must be error.insufficient.fund, is it? Or can be pre-customized any keyword?
In this case, it has to be followed in this way.
Or must follow the formatting of in between, it must be a dot.
Yeah, because you see the error insufficient fund showing in this one is actually from the ParaBank itself, the error message.
Okay. Yeah. It's the recorded one.
Yes.
Okay.
This constraint only applicable to ParaBank examples. But if you're trying to do the mocking on your own systems, then it might not have the same constraint where the error string must be formatted in particular way.
Okay, can.
Okay. So now, since we have been complete with all the conditions, we can actually try to execute once. So for example, now I can try with the value of 1001 with a down payment of 100. It should grant me approve. Okay. This is because it's out of the condition, so it goes to the third one. Greater than 100, less than, okay. Let's say I take 1001, down payment of 100. Yes, you see. So this is for the case number 1. It approved my loan request. So if you want to test run on the second one, you can always do something like, for example, 200,000 with less than 50. So you should deny you with an error message. So how if you try something in between these two? I mean, we did not stated in these two conditions. Maybe you want to test run with, for example, let's say 200,000. How is 200,000 with 200? Because down payment is less than 100, then you will fail. But now, if I set 200, you will also fail because it goes to the third value, the third condition. So this is how you can actually play around with the data repository here by giving out your condition in here without any scripting.
Yeah. For
so
this
this
data, the repository can still manually add new lines, right?
Yes, of course you can.
Okay, can.
This is depending how you want to manage your data.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, let me go back to the slide. Okay. So this is the data repository that I mentioned you have to create before the virtual access is done. Afterward, you will actually need to create the virtual access via your traffic file. And then all those screenshots have been allocated here so that you can actually always refer to here in case you'll be stuck somewhere else. And then, yeah, so this is the responder that I mentioned just now, because I'm using the ParaBank example, so that you can, as you can see, the responder here is different with the simple responder, because this one is related to the ParaBank. I just want to use the simple one to explain about what is responder and how it actually affect in your virtual access. Okay.
Okay.
So, do you have any questions about the virtual access so far?
So far, okay.
So far, okay, right? Everyone can follow, right? Okay.
Okay, I believe that system can really show you one of the way that you may use Parasoft Virtualize to help in facilitating your test automations. So the next topic that we're going to talk a bit is more into the roadmap, where ultimately everyone is aiming for a self-service testing. It's kind of like something like if you have a landscape where the blue color part activities, your developers is doing some code changes, they check in, and then you have a CI/CD server that builds, and then you can be publishing it over to the, let's say, Azure Online or any on-prem infrastructures for functional testing. Then it can be leveraged on the latest technology like Kubernetes or Docker and so on. But more importantly is all these testings, the result will be feedback to a central places where you can have a dashboard for you to preview what's the status of the entire project, whether it is ready for the deployment or so or not. And so this is just to illustrate that how Parasoft can be fit into the pictures from the start to the end of the whole activities involved in software development. We do allow you to tap on our technologies. So before I end these workshops, so I would like to share with you again, like, if you were to select a service virtualize, so there are a few important criteria that you should be considering. So the first one will be the rapid service creation. So most of the time, the QA department consists of non-developers. So a tool that is easy to use will be more useful than them. Not to mention that Parasoft Virtualize is not only easy to use, but it's rather powerful enough to cater for various scenarios. Sorry. So besides the recording that Ken showed you just now, actually for Service Virtualize, if you are testing on web services that contains a schema, for example, you have a result file, or you have some API document format. So the tool is able to directly digest that and help you to create corresponding endpoints easily. It also prevents you from making some simple mistakes, such as the data structures incompatibilities or some of the request or response parameters. So this is one of the key features that our answers to the one of the criteria rapid virtual service creation. And correlations lead to reusability and testability, because ideally we would not explicitly list out all the individual combination of input and output in our test cases. So just now, Ken actually show you that you can use some basic logical expressions to create a range of test value that would cover all known combination of the test scenarios. So the motto is always to be spend less time on configuring and more time using them. Okay. So the next one is a breadth of technologies. Yeah. Unfortunately, for Community Edition, which is free one, we only offer HTTP and HTTPS. But then rest assured that regardless of the underlying technology that you'll be using in your actual product, the paid version would likely to have the support on that, because we do even allow you to customize your own protocols. So we have a set of extensions available, and also marketplace in case that someone already developed something similar and they would rather share with the public. For example, protocol support for SAP. So although underlying is working on the SOAP protocols, but then if we were to manually pass these individual proprietary format, it would be very tedious job. Whereas through the marketplace, you were able to download a message pack that is already pre-developed by someone, and then use that right away. Then highly accessible and collaborative. So Parasoft Virtualize is able to integrate with other tools seamlessly, other tools of Parasoft. And one important tools here, it will be the CTP, which stands for Continuous Testing Platforms. So it allows you to virtually uses all the features of Virtualize from the web browser, from a remote client. Because sometimes nowadays there are corporations who are moving forward to the Chromebook. Means that their individual QA testers or developers may not have a very powerful hardware themselves to run a stick client such as Virtualize. All the features can be exposed via web portals, and then you can also visually configure the testing landscape that should be used. For example, if your whole solution comprised of multiple subsystems, sometimes you may want few of them to be connected to the live systems, while the rest connected to the dummy mock services. For example, in banking, for the stock prices, you may want to connect to the real world systems, but the transaction you may not want to connect it to the real world systems. And finally, the change management. So the change management, it allows you to easily monitor and maintain all your test values. So this is important because if you want to test your system correctly, you must build up your digital asset, your test asset. What are the scenarios that has been used in the past must be reusable so that you can achieve what we call, let's say, a regression. Okay. So I think we have reached almost to the end. So if anyone who hasn't downloaded the Virtualize Community Editions, you may get it from the link below. Let me hide my toolbar. Shit, how do I hide this? Okay, let me hide my toolbar. Okay, so software.parasoft.com/virtualize/community editions, or scan the QR code above. And then for the information that is used in these slides, you may also obtain it from this white paper below. Okay, is there any questions so far?
Everyone, allow me to tap in to talk something. Okay, this is a hands-on workshop for yours. Actually, it's really prepared for you to at least to kickstart, to doing. But of course, I know that the time may not be enough because I also just saw how the process is going. In case for your site have any difficulty after, let's say you want to try on Virtualize, right? Feel free to reaching out so we will be helping you to at least set up. The video is recorded so that I will be passing to yours So I don't know, Yeen, your site have any special additional material need to give them? I mean, from your side.
I will be converting my slides to PDF. Then I can pass it to you all for reference. Same with the Ken's instructions like this now.
Okay, so everyone, so based on that, from this section, right, the post follow-up, beside that, of course, from the Parasoft side, we're giving the joint certificate for you to certify you to attend this 2 hours for your CPD purpose. Those material, then we have one post email, and then we attach for all the material for yours. To be easier for you to deal with. Because for us to study anything new, definitely we need to get used to it. For you to pick up your learning. See, now is a Q&A. So any question? If not, then I'm move it to the next step for everyone. Is there anyone have any question right now? Yeen, is that I can take over now from closing?
Yeah, sure.
Now let's move in directly to the lucky draw. Okay, from this now, from the lucky draws, it will be one A6 travel notebook set. It's not in the like photo brown color. Is in the black color with the company logo because it's a company sponsorship item. We will be, after that, will be the lucky draw winners, so that we will be mailed over to the address that you want to receive it. Because it's not a physical event, so what we do, we will be using the random link picker based on, because I just picking out based on who at this point of time still inside the sections one. So then later on, after the random pick number is stopped, right, I will announce the name. So if you are there, then you just say, I'm here. But of course, if I'm not more there, then I will be doing one more round again, then give another person for this particular lucky draw. So let's move to that. So the name is put there already. Let's start. I think it's David. David, are you here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, David. So the lucky one. David, so the lucky draw thing, later on we will contact you to be passing to you, the mail over to you. It is a small token of organizer. Okay. Of course, this section, I would like to thank you for the high sponsorship from Parasoft. Without them to spend their time, take the initiative to provide this thing and the manpower, we will not be able to doing it. Once again, I also want to thank for the audience. Without your participation, so there's no meaning at all. Anything else on the Yeen and Ken side you want to add in before we proper close this thing for everyone?
Okay, I don't have any for now. I think it's basically more onto the community edition for the Parasoft Virtualize. So it's free, and currently we don't see that when are we going to stop offering it as free. So please make sure of that. Although that you will likely need to provide your working email to do that. I think Gmail or any popular free emails does not work, because like the headquarters will likely want to know that who is actually interested in this type of offering. But then, I mean, it will be a feature worth to explore. So if you face any problem using it, you can contact Eastin or us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So everyone, so thanks for making this too. Okay, now we are slightly early than the 2 hour finish, but actually we not really prolong it for no meaning, because I do appreciate your time for this. We were closing here, so that whatever follow-up content and the thing that we should send to you, we will get it done for you. But of course, it's not by today. So most likely by some way this week, we will get everything done for you in return. So thank you. So we will end this thing 10 minutes before the end time. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Yeah. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.